Today is primary day for Nebraska and West Virginia. And while major surprises aren't expected from those two states, it does keep the question front and center about the makeup of the U.S. Congress 2 years into President Donald Trump's four-year term. Now, voters will get a say in which party will get control of Congress with the general midterm election November 3rd. That's just 6 months away. But for primary season, it's really just begun. Only 7 states have had their primary elections so far for Republicans and Democrat voters to determine who their candidates will be for that November general midterm election. Now, it's going to be a quiet week this week with Nebraska and Virginia. Louisiana's primary for U.S. Senate and some local offices, that's slated for Saturday. Let's take a look at the primary calendar for the next few weeks. Of course, today, Nebraska and West Virginia have their voters at the polls. Saturday, Louisiana's U.S. Senate and local offices. Then next week, Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. For June 2nd, another slate of states, including California, Montana, South Dakota. And then June 9th, Maine, Nevada, North Dakota, and South Carolina. The latest date for a primary on the calendar is Delaware, and that's scheduled September 15th. Now, new maps are in play for the 2026 elections in California, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas. Litigation has also led to changes in Utah. Now, Louisiana, they're expected to have new maps as well because of recent opinion from the U.S. Supreme Court. That's also impacting other states. Now, litigation not fully resolved when it comes to map making for Florida, Virginia, Georgia, and New York. And Maryland's bid for new congressional maps died in April without making it out of the state legislature, with majority Democrats in each chamber. Tennessee, South Carolina, just a couple of states also in various stages of considering new maps for this midterm cycle. So we've got a whole slate of different states. Alabama, they could also have new maps in place that would offer the chance for Republicans to gain seats in the U.S. House. But just how significant is all of this jockeying? Well, let's take a look at how tight the margins are for which party controls the U.S. House. There's 217 Republicans represented across the country in Congress. There's 212 Democrats and just one independent. And yes, there are 5 vacancies. Now, the Senate is also at play, with some seats up for grabs this November. You can see 53 Republicans make up the U.S. Senate, with 45 Democrats and 2 independents, but those 2 independents caucus with Democrats, which makes the ratio 53 to 47. But primary voters not just selecting who their party's candidates for Congress will be, there's also primary elections for other statewide and state house races. In Georgia, for instance, a heated race for who will be the Republican nominee for governor's playing out. Georgia Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones is one of several Republicans vying for that party's spot on the ballot. He talked virtually with the Center Square Associate Editor Kim Jarrett about finding more tax relief for Georgians, especially for property taxes. But Jones must get through an inter-party fight. He accused businessman Rick Jackson of running a dark money campaign against him through a group called Georgians for Integrity.
Their only method is to let's try to tie him up in court. Let's try to just make him look bad, and maybe the people will think that or start believing all the mess that they've been putting out there. So I would much rather be talking about cutting taxes, cutting regulations, improving education, like the school choice that we passed 2 years ago, expanding that, and creating economic opportunities around the state, because that's really what the voters want to hear about. But when you're flooded with in your mailboxes with attack ads and on your TV screens accusing you of things like letting illegal cartel members out of jail, which is ridiculous. I couldn't get you out of a speeding ticket, if I wanted to, but it's like I said, they don't want to run against my record because they know I'm the only business person who has the business background and legislative background, and I have the endorsement of the president.
Jones also went on to say that so-called dark money groups are, quote, the devil. This is the most expensive gubernatorial campaign in the history of Georgia, and Jones said could be for the entire country. According to the latest financial disclosures, Jones has spent $18 million. Jackson spent way more than that, $52 million for just television ads. Now, for Democrats in Georgia, they have a slew of candidates to choose from in that party's May 19th primary. Early voting is underway until May 15th in Georgia. Now, a perennial factor happening every year in every election is independent voters. Independent voter registration grew nearly exactly as did the overall total for the most recent 7 days reporting in North Carolina. And how they'll impact primaries in states across the country could be a telling story for what to expect for November's midterm election.